Alright, so this is pretty much set. Alright, pretty much I'm recording this to upload to YouTube later, because I don't expect a lot of people to be online and watching this at the middle of the day. But sure, let's discuss the upcoming win rate, which I completely missed yesterday despite streaming about all the rumors that was coming up about all the Kaleido Labyrinth, which is a huge mistake on my part. I'm kind of annoyed. Anyhow, what do we actually know about the win rate? It's probably coming up by the next week. I would expect like a launch on Tuesday maybe. That's usually how these games work out. Launching with the server updates, with all the new stuff. But because there is a win rate, there's a big, that is the main reason why they have in fact unlocked the Flamehowl Ruins permanently, or at least for the duration of the time leading up to the event, right? So there's 10 hours left on Lights Under Ruins, which I have ground through to upgrade my castle, which I probably need to do for the rest of my mines. Yeah, always grind the light ruins. But when you're done with that, focus on getting as many fire orbs as you can. Like normal, by now, if you have done the original fire event, that was like the very first raid with Fragana and Celeria, then you probably have like a couple hundred stocked up by now, which is good. You're going to burn through all of it because it's all going to be used on at least 2 or 3 fire characters that you should have by now. By default, of course, you have Yuden, or whatever you've called your protagonist this time around, and you probably have 1 or 2 other like 3-star fire units too, which is a good thing, because despite what you might think, the 3 to 4-star characters in this game are actually pretty viable, and to like. As long as you have a couple of key characters to do the co-op version of the raids with, then you're fine. What we've known from the previous raids is that frankly, you don't actually need your entire team to survive as long as your main unit is either doing enough DPS or is providing the rest of the raid enough healing to sustain them through the fight. And generally the DPS is a lot more important because 1, iframes reduces the need for healing, and 2, you definitely want to kill the boss as soon as possible in the master or challenge difficulties that will inevitably come up. But let's look at what you generally have available right now, which is of course the we only have 2 5-star fire types in the game right now to do the win rate with, and quite frankly I don't think either of them are actually all that how should we call it, all that's beneficial for raid types. Like Elizabeth's, what was it called? The Howling Meteor effect has a very, very long iframe, but also keeps you locked into that attack for a long time. And we don't know how mobile the raid boss is going to be. It might actually be more of a detriment to be using Howling Meteor against the boss rather than Brilliant Inferno, which gives you a smaller iframe but also doesn't like lock you into the fight for as long. And of course, there's always the item abilities that you actually want to use, right? The other one was Mikoto, sword type, probably the better of the 2 to use. But what we saw in the fire raid, the Fragana raid, was that ranged characters in general tend to be a lot more effective into these kind of fights than their melee counterparts. In fact, that tends to be true for melee versus range in general. I think that melee in general tends to need like a 50 plus HP bonus to like their base stats per level to be as viable to be more viable than they currently are, because they die really, really fast. Especially the AI versions that would hit. Excuse me, I had lunch. That would be tagging along with you in these fights. Like iframes can only do so much, especially if you mistime an iframe or the boss happens to hit twice in a row with something. Generally not that great. What I would actually recommend is looking into either the tankier characters like Vanessa or longer range characters like Derica and Zanya actually, rather than using the melee type characters for these kind of raids. Generally, you do want to have a range advantage in the first place, so you don't die immediately. But if you can't have a range advantage, at the very least, you can at least have defense increases to make sure that the rest of the team survives a little longer. Like, frankly, having a tank in your team is a huge benefit for, especially for the raid types. And having like stun resistance, increased force strikes, like last offense, especially to buff your damage when you're low on health. That's all great, and synergize is great if you already have Verica as well to basically heal everybody up. Now there is actually a question of whether you should be using Verica for this fight actually, or Renel. Oh no, not Renel. What was it? All right, Arian. Reason for this is I'm pretty sure they're comparable. No, Verica definitely has the advantage in terms of like overall heals, times her spite, plus Blessings of Destiny for like heal over time effects, especially it's extremely good. And obviously, she as a higher rarity character, she has a higher recovery potency in the first place to make sure she can actually heal better. But what I'm actually looking at here isn't so much the heal benefits as whether or not she's going to be CC'd. Stun resistance is pretty great. There is a lot of stun effects in the game, but not all the stun effects are under the same labels. Like straight stun, for instance, is pretty good, but Arian has 2 sleep res levels to reduce susceptibility to sleep twice. That's crazy. Like up to 50 to 75% sleep resistance for a 3-star character is pretty strong, depending on what you're going to be hit with against the enemy bosses or the enemy the dungeon leading up to the boss. If it's anything like the first raid event we have, there will be like a low tier, low difficulty, normal 4-character co-op grind versus the like 16 character plus raid events that we generally see. And if it's a sleep-based effect like we see in the Imperial Onslaught, then yeah, you definitely want to be using Arian instead, just to not fall asleep at a critical time and have everybody in the raid die, which I've seen happen a lot in Imperial Onslaught, to my eternal frustration. But yeah, otherwise, if you have Zania, you can promote her once with a bit of Eldwater, and generally you'll have an effective like long range attacker with skill damage, with Ivy Blaze and Pirate Blossom for extra iframes, and quite frankly, like for some reason they're giving the 3-star mages especially a lot of resistance bonuses to actually make them tempting to use. That does raise, of course, a further question of whether or not you should actually roll for a new character when that new character is revealed. No, actually, I would actually advise against that. If there is a unique drop, or if there is a character you especially want and you happen to want to whale for it, sure, go ahead, I guess. I wouldn't quite recommend it, given that we know that the winter and the New Year events are going to be coming up. But otherwise, you're going to get a free unit in a free 5-star dragon from this event if you simply grind hard enough, and you can grind at any difficulty level. Probably the only main reason why you would want to roll on this event is if you don't have any fire characters other than the protagonist, which is a legitimate reason to roll, yeah. I wouldn't exactly bank on it, although I would guess that the drop rates for fire characters and fire dragons especially will be higher for the event than they will otherwise be. That could be a good reason to go for it if you don't already have like Zania or Arian, which frankly I think is all you really need to succeed for the event. Like just 2 fire characters and some off color that isn't like susceptible to wind damage. Like obviously you're not using your own water characters. You can in fact reuse your light characters for this event, given that the Sweet Retreat you still have is a huge bonus. It gives more HP and strength at level 30 than like a level 17 like Light Strike, which you probably have by now, if not higher, unless of course you were bottlenecked by the light orb demands that the upgrades otherwise demand of you, while you're still balancing out your mines and of course your level 5 castle building. Yeah. Grind Light Thunder at every single opportunity. You will be using every single light orb you ever get. I kind of think the mines should have been split up by element type as well, just so it's a little more diffused. but that's not the path they went with, so therefore you're grinding like Light Thunder. Period. I have no idea what their... Let's see. We know it's a mage type or sage type character, is the thing. Given the preview picture we have in the background on the first slide over here. So it's a Sylvan, it's obviously green, and there's some kind of like cloud-like creature at her base. I would guess she's a healing type character, which is a benefit. For some reason I don't have a lot of healers on my win team, I think. Let me double check. Yeah, I am actually really poor on decent win characters that otherwise need to be upgraded. That otherwise don't need to be upgraded. So a decent healer would be nice, a 4-star healer. But fire team, I'm probably doing fine. I would prefer having like range CPS for this as well. I do have Joe. Let's Joe's ability. Yeah, line damage, flame damage with burning effects. Skill haze is nice. Burn on full HP is actually pretty good, because that's basically just damage over time along with whatever your base might damage is, which is nice. It's not to be discounted at all. But yeah, like the further away you are from the boss, the less susceptible you are to like an incidental AoE strike. Like we saw from both from the Pumpkin and Fragonov that there will be occasionally like an AoE sweep with a really short tail. That if you're not paying like really close attention to it, like already have your fingers ready to do a dodge roll, you will probably be hit by and lose like half your HP in a single hit. So that's not fun. Which is why you use range characters and why you want to command the range character rather than having it used as AI. Just generally safer that way. But yeah, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed with Ezlith. Like, she dies really quickly. Her overall HP is on the low end. Her defense is is negligible. Her actual attack range, like she dashes everywhere. She does have the backwards leap, but so does every single other knife user. And although she does like add a critical rate to your team, which does help with DPS overall, like her overall ability spread kind of makes her a really poor support unit. Like compare this loadout to something like Elisonic. Oops, spelled that wrong. Which on top of everything else increases the entire team's overall DPS, increases their HP for like a better survival time, as well as have a buff time increase to her Great Bastion. Like that's actually what you want out of a support unit, rather than damage down. Defense down. Like 50% off the base armor on the enemy boss is okay, I guess. The Broken Punisher is also nice, but like they have a chance to resist debuffs, which is why you have Flurry Debilitator in the first place. But if you're facing like if this raid boss happens to have anything like an ad mechanic where every once in a while they'll spawn a wave of enemies to try to distract you, then having a Brilliant Inferno reduce the defenses for a single boss is going to help you against that kind of scenario where you will need off tanks, you will need peels, you will need like people to make sure your healer doesn't get swarmed under like it do in a lot of Imperial onslaughts. Like that's just overall more beneficial to you rather than oh, thank you for a follow, Commander Root. I'm not sure why I'm not getting the follow messages from my prompt, but I'll figure that out eventually. Oops. But yeah, overall, I wouldn't recommend rolling unless you're short on fire characters. If you do have fire characters, make sure to prioritize your ranged ones and of course Verica and or Arian. It's always good to have healers in any sort of sustained fight. And we don't know if Fragonov is actually going to set the tempo for what we will see from all other raid defense here on out. I would imagine they're going to mix it up, obviously. make it harder for you to simply focus on one raid boss and to simply abuse iframes all the time. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have for now. And now I'm going to grind out fire orbs because I just burned through all the leveling of my fire sprites.